Hey, what's going on, weavers? Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And in today's tutorial, we're learning how to make a microcord Conquistador Paracord ring. So this project may look a little daunting to some of you out there, but it's actually not that difficult, and once you get the hang of it, it doesn't take too long either. And if you put the time and effort into making one of these for yourself, trust me, you will not be disappointed, because I absolutely love my Conquistador Paracord ring. And remember, if you're looking for where to get Paracord and all the other tools I use in this video, feel free to check out those affiliate links down below. Let's get into it. So to start off, I am using a bit of scrap Paracord to tie a small section of Cobra knots. You don't have to do this, but I found that this method gives you something to hold on to while you are weaving your Conquistador ring, especially starting out. It'll make it a lot easier. So I would definitely suggest you do this part. And you don't have to tie as many knots as I did, just a few knots will do, just to give you enough to hold on to and to start weaving your Conquistador ring from. Also, a quick note about the microcord needed. It will of course depend on your ring size, and it will vary depending on the manufacturer of the microcord. So I've got my Cobra knots done, I've got my microcord on my FID, and I'm going to start looping it around one of the Cobra knots, like so, one of the knots kind of running left and right. That's the way I hold it. I'm going to loop 4 knots around one section here, okay? So I'm making these loops, kind of going in from the bottom, coming out the top, and looping them around like so. So as you can see, once I've done these 4 loops, I'll have a shorter piece on the right side and the majority of the rest of the cord on the left. And when you do this, also be careful not to pierce the paracord because it will get stuck. Now, with that same shorter end, I'm going to pass it underneath all 4 loops after I have made those 4 loops around my Cobra knot there. Okay, this is just to secure the end. I'm going to pull that through and firm that up. Okay, so I've got my 4 loops now on my Cobra knot, and before I do the demonstration with the microcord, I will be doing a demonstration of the Conquistador knots with 550 paracord because the microcord is so small it is a little bit hard to see. So imagine the 4 loops of microcord represented by the 4 coils here on the 550 paracord. So with the lead strand on a FID, I'm going to start by weaving underneath the first loop, going in from the sort of left side to the right side, as you can see. So I go underneath the first loop like so. And now I'm going to continue doing that across the first 4 loops. And notice that where I insert the FID is always in front of that lead strand from the previous loop. Okay, so always going in as I'm working from the left to the right, I'm tucking in that lead strand from the left side of the loop out the right. And notice the loop always goes in front of where the previous strand started. So you'll get these sort of angled loops on this first pass. And do this 4 times because in our ring piece we are doing 4 loops. So once you've done those 4 loops, you're going to go back the way you came. Okay, and now with that same FID, I'm going to go through the angled loop, and this time you can say it's kind of on the right side of the loop going out the left, and always go in front of that lead strand. Okay, never tuck it back underneath the loop, otherwise you won't get the same result. Okay, so that is the Conquistador pattern, and once you make that second pass, again you just switch directions and go back the way you were weaving, and you kind of just go back and forth doing the Conquistador pattern, and this is going to weave the sort of band of our knot. Okay, so there you can see a 550 version. Now we're going to switch to the microcord. So with our setup here, I turned it over, and you want the microcord to sit like it is in your hands as well. I've got my lead strand coming out the right side. And now again, we're going to go in from the left side of the first loop and out the right. You may have to just angle the paracord differently, however it'll work. And I'm going to go through and make my first loop. Okay, so pull all the excess through. And that first loop might be a little bit loose, so you can always pull up on the excess cord to close up that loop. So I'm just pulling up on that loop and close that first knot. Okay, so as you can see, it is a bit harder to see with a microcord, but just follow that same pattern I showed you with the 550. So we've got our first loop, and now we're going to continue tying that same pattern across all 4 loops. Okay, and having a fid that's nice and pointy will definitely help in this situation. You know, sometimes fids can be a little too pointy, but working with microcord, having the pointy fid really does help. And of course, you can, if you don't have a microcord fid, feel free to check the affiliate links down below where to get that. So as you can see, I am kind of turning the whole paracord assembly in my hand a little bit just to make it easier to get that proper angle and get that fid underneath the loops. But just do whatever works best for you. I mean, you might be left-handed, so you might be doing sort of opposite. And now looping around the last loop. Sometimes the microcord can be a little bit hard getting through those loops. And I do apologize for drifting off camera here and there. It was a little bit hard to see, but that's why I did the demo with the 550. And now we've gone through our 4th loop. Get all that cord to the other side. And now you'll have your first row of the Conquistador loops. And as you can see, they're nice and angled, like with our 550 paracord demo piece. And now you're just going to go back the other way, okay? And it's much easier after the first set of loops because these loops are on a nice angle, and you'll have a lot easier time getting the small fid through those loops. So I'm going to go back the way I came, and remember when you insert your fid, notice how my fid is on the right side or in front of that lead strand. Okay, never go under it because it won't work if you do that. And I'm just going to go back the way I came. Do 4 loops back the way I came to the other side. And make sure those loops are nice, those knots are nice and tight before you move on. So that's the first loop. We're going to go through the second loop now. And be very careful not to poke yourself in the finger with your microcord fid. Those tend to be very pointy. Okay, so our second loop is through. Let's go through the third. And take your time with this one. Sometimes you'll have to just coax that fid through the loops there. It's our third loop, and we'll go through the last one. The sort of end loop is always a bit trickier, and you'll have to just find the proper angle to get it through. As you can see, just wiggle that fid through. And now we've done our 4th loop. So we've gone back the way we came, and we're back to where we started. And this is the pattern that you'll have to do to weave this Conquistador ring. All right, so I'm just going to show you the start of the 3rd row. And again, see, I'm going in front of where that lead strand is. Just go underneath and go through. So continue going back and forth, stitching or weaving these Conquistador knots. And the great thing about this ring is that you can just, keep weaving until you have enough. You can kind of size it on the go as you weave, and weave enough so that you can wrap it around the finger that you want to put the ring on. So once you've woven enough of the Conquistador weave to make the band of your ring, you can kind of just put it around your finger and kind of estimate, see how it feels. And once you've done enough, you can remove the 550 paracord. Okay, so just undo all that paracord. And my stitching actually went into the paracord, so I had to, take it apart and snip it off because it was kind of stuck. So once you get the paracord out of the initial knot or where you started, that's what it should kind of look like. You'll have these 4 loops, and all you have to do here is just get all that excess slack out and pull it out to the I guess the standing end. So I'm closing up those loops where the 550 was coming out of. Okay, I just close those up, and I'm just working the slack all the way out to the end piece there, and just give it a tug to get the rest of the cord out. Okay, that's what you want your starting piece to look like. And now from here, we can move on to closing the band to form it into a ring. So you'll notice that there is a strand of microcord running across the 4 loops where we started, the one coming out to the right. So we're going to continue tying the Conquistador knot. See, I'm going through the, the next knot where I'm going to continue. But before I go into the following knot, I'm going to tuck the working end underneath that strand that's kind of running across like so. Okay, and don't worry if it comes loose, you can always pull on it to tighten it up, but this is how we're going to connect our ring. So as you can see, it's connected to the other side now. All right, and then after I've gone through the first loop, I'm going to go through the next loop. So go through the next loop. And now at the other side, notice how again there's that lateral strand running through the 4 loops. We're going underneath that sort of lateral strand there. I do apologize for drifting off camera because it was just so hard to see and I kept having to bring it closer to my eyes. But as you can see, I'm just going underneath that lateral strand. Okay, and you're just going to continue this all the way across. So continue tying that last row of the Conquistador knots, but when you get to the other side, go underneath that sort of lateral strand that's running through the 4 loops on the opposite side. And that is essentially how you're going to close and connect the Conquistador ring. So as you can see, that strand runs right in between the loops on the other side. So you're not going through the loops, you're going through the cord that's running through them. And trust me, once you make this ring, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a little bit hard to translate onto camera, but I hope you can see it. So now going through the last loop on the Conquistador side there, where we were our working end. I'm going to pull all that cord back out through to the other side. And there's one more loop to finish on the connecting side. Going through that last loop there, as you can see, right at the very end. Okay, so we're gonna pull the rest of our cord through, and now before we cinch everything shut, we have to pass that working end back through to the other side. So the original footage I shot with the red cord was subpar, so I kind of had to redo it with this blue cord, so I do apologize for the color change, but this is just to show you how to close up that loop properly. So now with our working end, we're going to pass it through all those loops we just created with that last set of Conquistador knots. And now all you have to do is get all the slack out to the, the longer working end. Okay, so normally I would just do this with my fingers, but just to try to show you a bit more clearly, I'm just using some hemostats here. And I'm just going to tug on those loops and close them up and get all that slack out to the right side. So I do realize it looks a little bit different from the red I was working with, and I do apologize for that, but again, the footage I got wasn't very good, so I had to redo it. But as you can see, I'm just closing up the loops by pulling all the slack out. And notice the slack is going to the left side because that's where the loop sort of finishes, and then it's going to get pulled out to the right side. And that's going to close up our ring. So once we've closed up our ring, all we have to do now is clip off the excess microcord, very simply, and just melt it with our lighter. And again, of course, I'm just going to press down on it with my knotter's tool. And there we have it, guys. There is our microcord Conquistador Paracord ring. So I know this one might have looked a little bit difficult, but trust me, it's not that hard. I hope everything was nice and clear in the video. I do apologize if some of it was not the most clear, but working with microcord, a little bit tough to keep everything in focus. So I hope you guys will try this one out and make one for yourself. As always, a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you guys want access to the exclusive videos each and every month and other preview and behind the scenes stuff, feel free to check out my Patreon page, link in the video as well as down below. You can join for as low as $3 a month. If you guys enjoyed what I did in this video, feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel.